I have discovered the coolest abandoned house in my career of checking out abandoned places, because I think the family that lived here left one night to go to dinner or something, and they never came back, but they intended to come back. And the reason I believe this is because of the personal effects which are scattered about in reference to personal artworks, trophies, family photos, which is a big thing, memoirs in the form of writing, notebooks, videotapes, and audio tapes. So I don't think there was a family dispute of anything that would cause them to break up and just leave this place to fall into ruin. But about 20 years ago, I think this family just checked out, and this is what's left. It's a little eerie, a little disconcerting to go through a place like this, but there's also some human interest value as well, which I'd like to show you. It's a big place. There are 4 levels, if you include the basement and the attic. And if the owner was still living, you would think that they would auction off some of the antiques around here, because they would be worth thousands of dollars. And I'm not sure that the generation that lived here 20 years ago was in any way affiliated with all of these things. The father who lived here before was a furniture builder. So there's a lot of equestrian farm tools around here, which I don't know, probably maybe the guy's father or his grandfather. And I don't know what to tell you about that. So let's try not to think about that too much. But this stuff is valuable. Some of it was valuable anyway. Most interesting things that I'd like to show you lie below in 2 different wings of this large house. One wing is basically unoccupied. Somebody roughly tried to maintain this area with some new sheetrock and failed miserably. More equestrian stuff. Roof about to collapse over here. Beautiful old radio, which I estimate to be around post-World War I. Look at that beautiful speaker. And I think a record player went there. Look at the old vacuum tubes. Pretty interesting. I think that probably belonged to the record player to amplify the sound. And if we come over here, see another empty room, which was probably in bad shape even when the family lived here. Personal items, photo album, laid in the open to rot. Doesn't make any sense. Yay! And the only room, oh, I never went in here before. Okay, just a cubby space. This is where the teenage girl lived. I estimate her to be about 15 years old. And she has this notebook which dates back to 1993, 1994. It's really a cool notebook, which I don't think anybody would just leave. And there's a whole bunch of personal effects over here from her, which I won't bother to show you because it's just too personal to put on the internet. Some of her clothes, really cool leather jacket over here. And I know there's a lot of there's a large variety of items here. I think somebody rummaged through this place looking for valuable stuff, or maybe a friend of the family or a distant relative came over here and roughly consolidated things, and then some squatters came in and just rummaged through everything and trashed it. That ceiling is not in good shape. This house is basically gonna fall into ruin soon. Here's a little divider between that room that we were just in and the room that we're about to go in. I think the mother's clothes were here, her coats, and the father's coats were over here. Old record player there, and oh yes, old typewriter. A lot of old radios. I have to squeeze through here. Squeeze on in. And this is pretty much, to me, this is pretty much a dude's room. There's a bunch of tools, which I don't see any dude leaving behind, especially a furniture maker. He's going to love his tools. A lot of items in here, mostly junk. Here's a trophy from 1981, which you wouldn't think the mother would leave behind. A bowling trophy. Squatter has been living here. Cigarettes. Somebody's been sleeping here, eating Tostitos recently. Glad they weren't here last night. Here's just another little subdivider between the wings. Again, I think this was in bad shape even when the family lived here. And I think the father fell ill. There's a bunch of books laying around, health books, and there's some crutches downstairs, and there's a knee brace in here. How to turn back the clock, the power of color, and making color work for you, and good health and better living and stuff like that. I think the father was ill. I think the son lived here. I think he was a teenage boy of about 17. There's a bunch of photos of the girl and the boy here, which I will not put those on the internet. But here's an old Polaroid. Really nice. I'm really tempted to take the Polaroid, but I don't think I will, because, oh, look at that. There's a there's a John Hartman within the John Hartman within the John Hartman within the John Hartman within the John Hartman going on. Some old tapes, an entire bag of old cassette tapes, which say things like 12/3/89 Sunday night, 11/29/89 Wednesday night. Personal memoirs, probably, from who knows what, a Jesus camp or something like that. I think this was probably the guest room. See, that's worth money right there. It really is. That's a really nice antique. It's worth money. You could get hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for that alone. I'm going to sleep here tonight. Did some yoga here this morning. I kind of feel like I already live here. This magazine has the teenage girl's name on it. Young and Modern. And these cassettes, I believe, belong to the boy. Anything from heavy metal to reggae to punk rock. And nothing music-wise, book-wise, magazine-wise, newspaper-wise, nothing dates beyond the mid-90s. So I think this place has been abandoned for about 20 years. Don't know what this room was. Looks like it was a child's room. Oh, pick. There's a pick. I love those picks. Love those picks back in the 70s. Everybody had a pick in their hair. And this is kind of my... Oh, yeah. This was locked, and the lock was forced. So I think this was closed even when the family lived here, and they kept their family heirlooms in here, which, again, indicates that they appreciated family history because they kept all these things here in good safekeeping. So why would they move out and just leave them here? It doesn't make any sense. So I think something happened to them. I won't sleep here tonight. Too many bugs, very noisy, hard floor, no good. Let's go downstairs real quick. It's a big place. I'm very happy that you were coming along with me on this special tour, because I think that, again, there's some human interest here. The father probably stored a bunch of stuff here, but it's hard to say. Maybe a distant relative or a friend of the family roughly took over the place 20 years ago and stored a bunch of stuff here. I don't know. Hard to say. I just came in through the front door with my bicycle. And another reason this place probably hasn't been rummaged too much is because you would have to park your car right out front and the neighbors would see you. Squatter. Lots of booze and copious amounts of cigarettes. And I was so happy that the squatter was not here last night. Nobody got no time for the squatter. The biggest clue that leads me to believe that this place has not been occupied in 20 years is that old television, which I estimate to be late 70s. Old TV. You know, people watched these kind of TVs 20 years ago, but if this place was occupied 10 years ago, I doubt this television would have been used. Yeah. And here's some of the father's handiwork. Branches and other pieces of wood put together to make that device. More storage. Bunch of old personal VHS tapes, which I'm tempted to take, but I won't. Father's business cards in here. Bunch of bullets or bullet shells laying on the ground. That's where I put my bike. Again, a variety of items here. Roof definitely collapsing, and this one. Another room with a variety of stuff, including live ammo shells. And wherever you find live ammo shells, usually you find that the place has been completely abandoned. And there are two places, or two kinds of abandoned houses. One that have been completely abandoned, everything of value is stripped. There's no signs or gates or locked doors, and everything's open, but everything of value is gone. And the other kind is the abandoned house, which has no trespassing signs. The windows are boarded up, the doors are locked. It's not for sale, but it's not being occupied as well. This house falls somewhere in between those two extremes because it is completely open, but it is also loaded with remnants of the past and lots of signs if you lived here, including, if you know anything about me, you know I love that old television. Wow, I sure do.